Hello everybody, it's Sarah and welcome to a very lazy video. Not gonna lie, I am in a major lazy mood today, which is also why I'm just wearing my comfy indoor sweater that's already so disgusting because it's older than me that I can't even wear it outside anymore. I stole this from my mom, like half my wardrobe I stole from my mom, to be honest. But yeah, I'm lazy today, so what I decided to do is I wanted to do a tag, and the tag is the winter book tag. There actually have been some tags that I have been tagged in for a longer time. However, the winter book tag, as the title suggests, is all about winter, so my time is kind of running out to still be able to do this tag this year and not have to drag it into next year. So, well, next year, you know, next year, next winter, 1 year from now. You know, I could do it in November or December of this year, but you know what I mean. Anyway, winter book tag, I was tagged by the Booktube Goddess, and the original tag comes from a blog called Marissa Writes, and I will leave the original blog post as well as the Booktube Goddess's video linked down below, so definitely go and check their links, videos, blogs out. You know what I mean. And so yes, I have the blog post open right here, right now, because I am too lazy to remember the questions or to write them down, so I just have them from the blog post. And also I only briefly looked at them. I did not think of answers yet, so I'm just thinking of answers as I go. But question number 1 is Falling Snow. The colors of winter are muted. Choose a book that has whites, light blues and grays on the cover. And surprisingly, I think I have quite a few of these books. I mean, I could probably use Brandon Sanderson's Mistborns, but they are all up there. I don't want to choose them. The Dragon Republic is here, which has blues and whites on the cover, but I didn't like the Dragon Republic. I feel like I've talked about the Sword of Kaigen too much recently, if you can ever talk about it too much, so not gonna choose the Sword of Kaigen. And my battery is flashing, so let me just quickly change that, and once I have it changed, I'll be back with my answer. So I'm back, and the book I ended up deciding on was Lady Hotspur by Tessa Gretton, because I feel like I haven't mentioned her in a while on my channel. Lady Hotspur is the second of Tessa Gretton's Shakespearean retellings and a kind of sequel to Queens of Innislia. You could probably read this as a standalone as well, although I would recommend reading Queens first and then Lady Hotspur. While Queens of Innislia is a retelling of Shakespeare's King Lear, this is a retelling of, I believe, Henry IV. And for those of you who do not know the plot of that tragedy, because a tragedy it is, it's basically, well, applied to this, not the original plot, but applied to this. The plot is that you have 3 women. One used to be the heir to the throne of her country, however, her throne was usurped by the mother of someone who she called one of her closest friends. The second character we follow is then this closest friend who decides to make the former heir to the throne one of her knights, and the third character we follow is another knight that is very dedicated to, you know, the new heir to the throne. That's probably very confusing how I explain it just now, but basically it's a gender swapped sapphic Henry IV retelling. I absolutely loved it. I love Tessa Gretton's character work that she does. I do prefer Queens of Innislia, to be honest, which maybe actually I could have taken Queens of Innislia as well, because this is a very dark blue, but I feel like this looks wintry, more wintry. So yeah, I love her character work. I love both of these books. I prefer Queens of Innislia, but Lady Hotspur as well is just absolutely amazing, and I can highly recommend both of them. So question number 2 is Crackling Fires. Colder weather makes for the perfect time to sit by a crackling fire in the fireplace. What book is the best to curl up next to a warm fire with? And so I guess a comfy read, I don't really have a lot of comfy reads because obviously I read mostly fantasy. Maybe also a shorter read. Wait a second, I need to get up and get a book because I just thought of one. So the book I thought of was The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, which I'm not sure if I would call it a comfy read, but it's definitely a winter read. It's obviously a polar fantasy. This series is set in a kind of slightly fictionalized Russia, and we follow our main character, Vasya, who is a young girl at the beginning of the first book, and she can kind of talk to the spirits and sprites of nature and of the house and everything around them. However, they are slowly vanishing because of the power of Christianity. You know, everything is being Christianized, even the smallest, remotest villages of Russia. And with that, however, come some problems, and Vasya might hold the key to, you know, save everyone, basically. And yeah, I read this at the beginning of 2021. I really enjoyed it. I think Catherine Arden has a beautiful writing style. And yes, just overall can highly recommend it, and I think it's a perfect book and a perfect series generally, the Winter Night trilogy, to curl up next to a crackling fire with. Question number 3 is winter storms can be brutal. What book do you love that takes the characters through a brutal season? And I mean, what book don't I love that takes the characters through a brutal seasons? As I said, I read fantasy. Like, the characters in my favorite books basically all suffer a lot. So yeah, maybe Jade City, but Jade City I feel like is more than just a season because it's kind of a generational story, so we follow those same characters over years, not just a season. So where, actually, fuck it, I said that I talked about this book too much recently, but I haven't talked about it enough, seriously, so let's talk about it. But The Sword of Kaigen definitely fits the bill of taking the characters through a brutal season. This entire book is basically set up around one big momentous event. Let's put it like that. And we follow two main characters, Misaki and Mamoru. Misaki is Mamoru's mother, and she is someone, well, both of them live in this small village on the Sword of Kaigen, so called because they apparently have the best warriors of the entire country, and they are the ones basically, well, that are said to be protecting the whole country and the reason why the country is never attacked. So Misaki and Mamoru both belong to the ruling family of their village. Misaki on the surface is a housewife and a mother, however she holds some dark secrets that might be uncovered soon. And Mamoru, as the son within this ruling family, is of course a prodigy and has a lot of pressure put on him. And so when he gets a new classmate and finds out that the things that he has been learning since his childhood as being true might not be 100% true, it kind of, you know, makes him struggle a bit. So yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful book that completely broke my heart. I was sobbing so much during this. And yeah, the characters in this book definitely go through it. Question number 4 is winter wishes. Spending more time indoors allows for more time to dream and wish. What character is living a life that you dream about? And again, most of my books that I read are fantasy. Most of the characters have lives that I, you know, wouldn't swap my life for because they go through a lot. But, you know, in terms of just job description, general job description, at least at the beginning of the book, I think I would 100% swap my life with Irene Winters from The Invisible Library, because she's a librarian spy in this world, in these worlds, more or less, because this is set in a world with multiple alternate universes and worlds that are all based on our world, but, you know, historically different and at different points in history and so on. And Irene herself belongs to an entity called the Invisible Library, which is this thing, organization, entity, as I said, kind of between these alternate universes, and that tries to keep the balance between the different worlds, because you have worlds that are very chaotic and worlds that are very orderly, like they either affiliate with chaos or order. That's what I wanted to say. And so you have the Invisible Library and you have librarians, and what librarians do basically is they go to the different worlds and they steal unique books and unique stories. And that is what Irene Winters does. There's a reason why they do that. It's pretty complicated, not gonna go into it. But yeah, I think that would be really fun actually, just, you know, jumping through worlds, stealing books. Sounds like a dream, to be honest. So question number 5 is hot cocoa. There's nothing like a hot cup of cocoa during the winter. As adults, we often underestimate it. What book do you think should be the next big thing? And, kind of hard to say, because I feel like most of the books that I read are marginally well known, at least in the communities that I'm, you know, swimming around in. That's a weird way to put it. So the series I ended up deciding on for this one is The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. This, once again, as I said, this is one of those series where I feel like in certain circles that I am in online a lot of times, this is already a quite well-known series. I think it's more well-known than that people have actually read it, because these books are chunky. Like this one, the first one, not so much. The first one is, well, 600 pages. It's still all right. But yeah, the second one is 900 pages and the third one is 1,000 pages. So these are chunky boys. The fourth one is gonna come out, I think in June, if I remember correctly, but sometime soon. And this is a series, an adult high fantasy series that has a lot of political elements, a lot of military elements, that also spans years and generations, and is very much inspired by Chinese history and culture, among other influences, of course. And in this series, in the first one, we follow two characters who are both part of a rebellion against this big empire. Both of them are very different characters, and both of them have their own reasons for joining this rebellion. And yeah, it really, this explanation in terms of where the series goes really doesn't do it justice, because it's like saying a Game of Thrones is about Ned Stark going to King's Landing, which yes, it is, like the first book is, and that's kind of what kicks off the whole plot. But also it's a very narrow way to describe what a Game of Thrones is about. But yeah, I think this series, to be honest, because I'm already at a Game of Thrones, 100% deserves to blow up the way Game of Thrones did. I think it has a lot of similar elements in terms of, you know, how detailed it is and how vast it is and how dense it is also. But then I do think that this series actually is way better than a Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. I loved the Game of Thrones when I read it and the entire series, but this one's just better. But yeah, it's just highly recommended if you want a dense, very political, very military focused adult high fantasy series that spans generations. Question number 6 is lip balm and lotions. Soothing dry skin is part of the winter for many. For me as well. Although for me it's part of, you know, the entire year, because I always had dry skin, but ever since I went through chemotherapy, my dry skin is so much worse. Like so much worse. And it's been like 4 years now. Anyway, what book is full of soothing and comforting words? Soothing and comforting words. By the way, I'm only looking here because I'm too lazy to get up again. But what book is full of soothing and comforting words? Oh no, you know what? I actually have one. Let me get up just a second. So I couldn't not go with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy for this one. This is a children's book, but you know, the type of children's book that's also very much for adults, where you follow the story of a boy who meets a mole, a fox and a horse. And yeah, they travel together and they say things to each other that are very soothing and comforting. And this book made me cry. It's just, well, it didn't make me cry because I was sitting next to my mom while reading it, but it almost made me cry. And it's just like, just let me read you this page, for example. "Is your glass half empty or half full?" asked the mole. "I think I'm grateful to have a glass," said the boy. And you know, it's this type of book that's just full of things that I think everyone needs to be reminded of sometimes, and it warmed my heart when I read it. Question number 7 is Peppermint Mocha. What is your go-to winter food or drink for those reading marathons of winter? And to be honest, I don't often drink while I'm reading. I usually, when I make myself a drink, it's for lectures at uni, because gotta be honest, I'm too lazy usually, and if I read and make myself tea, then I always forget to drink it and it ends up being cold, so you know, it's just suffering. But if I would make myself anything, there's not that many winter specific drinks that I make myself, because I make myself tea all year round, and there's not really any specific types of tea that I make myself in winter. I mean, to be honest, like fruit teas, I often feel more like drinking in the winter rather than in the summer, so I quite often drink fruit teas. I drink black teas and chai, but I do that all year round. And then I actually, this winter, which is a wintry drink for this winter, I found this really good chai syrup at my grocery store. So I bought that and I've been drinking that all winter, just, you know, a warm glass of milk, put some syrup in it, and it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, that was it for all the questions. I will once again tag people on Twitter because I'm too lazy to tag people now. If you have any thoughts or comments on any of the books that I mentioned, or tell me your answers to any of the questions down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the links to my social media as well as to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where read one adult high fantasy book written by a woman or genderqueer person per month, will be left linked down below as well, so go and check those out as well. And with all of that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!